the essence of a class system is not that the privileged are conscious of their privileges, but that the deprived are conscious of their deprivations. Clive James said that, and I'm saying this. Welcome to High and Low. Good day and good night. Welcome to the High and Low Basketball Show. This is episode number 100 and McCullum, aka episode number 175. Shout out to the Bleacher Report for dropping their preseason top 100 NBA players list. And according to this list, CJ McCollum is projected to be the 75th best player in the NBA going into this 2023-2024 season. He was 44th on the same list from last year, which is a wild drop if you think about it. That's a wild drop in ranking. Regardless, CJ is still a beast. He's still a bucket, and he'll impact the Pelicans season in a positive way with or without Zion Williamson. Truth be told, I miss watching CJ and Damian Lillard in the backcourt for the Blazers, but hey, nothing lasts forever. Again, welcome to the show. My name is Ike Amaechi. Around here, we live by a principle governed by the high and low lives of the world, which means we talk about basketball, especially and specifically the NBA, and we talk about it at any time, anywhere, north, south, east, west, high and low. You know the deal. This week on the show, it's a solo one. It's a solo pod. It's a solo show. I'm going dolo. I'm dropping the 2023-2024 preseason NBA player tier list. We've discussed tier lists on this show before, and I'll give some other high and low contributors an opportunity to chime in at a later date, most likely next episode. I've said this before, the NBA is predicated on a class system which allows itself, media and fans to neatly place players into buckets. They do it with salaries and contracts. They do it with awards and other distinctions like all NBA selections. So I'm bucketing the top 50 players into different classes or tiers, from the diamond class down to the silver class. Every player in that top tier or that top 50 will have a home based on last year's numbers, this season's projections, and let's be honest, my own opinion. So there's room for debate, but again, this is a solo show this week. Debates will be had next week when I'm joined by the others, and I'll post the list on our socials during the week. Actually, you know what? I'm going to post it on Vonn+Abrahamm.com, so go check it out there. I'll also mention the players who have graduated or have been demoted since last season. I won't dwell too long on that, but I'll mention it. Again, there will be room for that conversation on future episodes. So stay tuned for all of that. Before we lock in, let me check in.
Oh, hi. Thanks for checking in. I'm still a piece of garbage.
Yes, he is. Listeners, thank you for joining us for another installment of the High and Low NBA Show. Another week, another episode, more NBA. So, of course, more High and Low. This week in NBA history, the stage was set on a lake of fire. On September 26, 2020, the Lakers of Los Angeles defeated the Denver Nuggets 117-107 to take Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals and advance to the NBA Finals. Fueled by LeBron James' 38 points and 16 rebounds, the Lakers took the series in 5 games, a gentleman's sweep, and clinched their first Finals appearance in 10 years, the previous being the 2010 title led by Kobe Bryant and Pau Gasol. The very next day, on September 27, 2020, led by a big 32-point, 14-rebound game by Bam Adebayo, the Miami Heat defeated the Boston Celtics 125-113 and clinched a finals berth that would see an NBA Finals featuring 2 teams that had failed to make the playoffs the year before, a first in NBA history. In a strange turn of events, we would see the exact same conference final matchups in the 2023 NBA playoffs. This meant that Boston and Denver were gifted with an opportunity to avenge their 2020 losses. How often do we get a second chance like that? Not often. In Boston's case, that opportunity would evaporate in Game 7 as the Heat would defeat the Celtics and repeat their 2020 trip to the bubble finals.
What did you say?
In Denver's case, lessons were learned and mistakes were erased as Nikola Jokic, Jamal Murray, and company would make sure history wouldn't repeat itself as they would sweep LeBron Anthony Davis and the Lakers and finally make that long-awaited trip to the dance. As we all know, because June wasn't that long ago, those Denver boys will go on to defeat the Heat in the NBA Finals and win their first NBA championship. NBA champions. Not world champions, but NBA champions. Just as good.
Whoa. What did you just say to me?
Anyway, that's a little something for the NBA history nerds. Things are certainly happening in the NBA today, so let's talk about it.
Let's talk about something important.
This is the part of the show where we hear from you, the listeners, through your questions. And I have a great question from Jason in Winnipeg, Manitoba, Canada. Jason's question is this: who are your top 10 NBA players going into this season? And simple but great. Great question, Jason. And your timing is perfect because I can answer that question by revealing the players in the top tier of the high and low preseason NBA player tier list, the diamond class, as I like to call it. So instead of jumping into that now, let me answer that in the next segment, if you don't mind. I'm just trying to kill two birds with one stone, or feed two birds with one scone, whatever you prefer. Again, great question, Jason, and thank you. Appreciate you. I really want to answer Jason's question. So let's take a quick break. But before we do, let me just share a quick reminder of High and Low Lives. If you want to leave a question for us to answer on the show, send your DM to us on TikTok and More High and Low. You can send a DM to us on Instagram at Get High and Low. Links are always in the show notes. So, hey, man, it's time for us to take that quick break. When we come back, I'll reveal the NBA preseason player tier list and answer Jason's burning question. This is a High and Low Basketball Show.
This moment is brought to you by High and Low listeners. This week on the High and Low NBA show, listeners were asked to share the top 5 most overhyped players going into the new NBA season. We heard from Shango in Shreveport, Louisiana. Shango shared his list starting with number 5, Victor Wembanyama of the San Antonio Spurs.
Who the hell is that?
The NBA needs to let him play a game before they place the crown on his head. Number 3 is Jaylen Brown of the Boston Celtics. He's a good player who can show moments of greatness, but those are just moments. He's fumbled when the Celtics needed him most, and he's a clear number 2. But people are using his big contract as a reason to say his name in conversations about the top players.
Damn right.
Number 2 is Joel Embiid of the Philadelphia 76ers. Yes, he's the reigning NBA MVP, but he's not better or on the level with Giannis and Nikola Jokic.
Good God, that's going too far.
Like Jaylen Brown, he's hyped to a level that is above what he's been able to show.
All right, stop before I throw up.
And the number 1 most overhyped player is Austin Reeves. I agree with Ike. The Captain America discourse is gross and reeks of Laker privilege.
Well, that's a great point, Mark.
Reeves is a good player, but he's not worthy of the superstar level of attention he gets.
Amen, brother. Amen. Love this. All right. Woo!
Thank you for sharing your top 5, Shango. Let's get back to the High and Low NBA show.
And we are back. I'm Ike Amaechi, and this is the High and Low NBA show. Some call it the High and Low Basketball Show. But hey, you know what? The title is fluid. It's fluid. Anyway, it's time for this year's preseason NBA star tier list, comprised of approximately 50 of the NBA's best players, give or take a name. I went through the painstaking process of polling some knowledgeable folks in the know about their top 50 lists, and I took the average and divided the list into 4 tiers, starting with the diamond class. This is the NBA's top tier, the best of the best, the guys who truly deserve a supermax contract based on their numbers and on-court impact. These are the guys that make first and second All-NBA teams. If they're not winning MVPs, they're certainly in and around the perennial conversation, or they will be soon. So I want to answer Jason's question with this list. I really can't answer it by listing the players in the top tier. The diamond class is only comprised of 10 players. So essentially, it's my top 10. But it's in no particular order, starting with Nikola Jokic, Giannis Antetokounmpo, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jason Tatum, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, Joel Embiid, LeBron James, and Steph Curry. Did I say Steph Curry?
Now, who can argue with that?
Again, let me say that again. And I'm going to scramble the order again. Giannis Antetokounmpo, Steph Curry, Nikola Jokic, LeBron James, Jason Tatum, Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, Luka Doncic, and Joel Embiid. 10 right there. This was a layup for me. But, I mean, I can appreciate the fact that some people might have issues with Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and maybe Devin Booker. And to those people, I say numbers don't lie. I'm not swayed by exposure, favoritism, or name recognition. I think we can get tricked into thinking players are better than they are because we've grown accustomed to seeing them at that level year after year. And I'm referring to players like Anthony Davis, Kawhi Leonard. In past seasons, these two would be considered top 10, but Shai Gilgeous-Alexander and Book have been more consistent in terms of availability. They've played more games in the last several seasons. They put up big numbers in those games. Shai Gilgeous-Alexander averaged 31.4 points per game, 5.5 assists, 5 rebounds, shot over 50% from the field. I mean, those are MVP numbers. Devin Booker put up almost 28 a game, 5.5 rebounds, 4.5 assists, 50% from the field. Big numbers. It's hard to argue against it, and that's why they're my 10. And ultimately, the answer to our listener question this week.
Okay, next, what's his name? Read this back to me.
Next up is the Platinum class, the NBA's superstar also-rans, I guess you want to call them that. Most of these players are legitimate and bona fide superstars in this league, but for one reason or another, they're just a step below or behind the Diamond class players. Injuries, suspensions, aging, those can be considered rationale for why some of these guys aren't Diamond class players. The other names in this tier are up-and-coming stars. These players could most likely become Diamond class players in the next few years. They're moving up the ladder, and it really could happen for them if they continue to progress, grow, perform. Players in this tier would get a Supermax contract under the current CBA and salary structure, not because they're top tier, but because they're the best available. There are 30 teams in the NBA, 10 Diamond class players. So who are the other 20 teams giving the big contracts to? These guys. They're not quite MVP level at this point, but perhaps they were, or they will be at some point. These players often find themselves on all-star teams and all-NBA second or third teams, or possibly snubbed. So players in this tier are, again, no order at all. Jimmy Butler, James Harden, Ja Morant, Anthony Edwards, Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, Jamal Murray, Anthony Davis, Damian Lillard, Donovan Mitchell. And I said Anthony Edwards, right?
I don't think so.
Yeah, Anthony Edwards. A few names to address here. This is where Anthony Davis falls, and I think he fits the bill compared to other Platinum players. Jimmy Butler, Kawhi, and Jamal Murray, you got PG, all play at similar level to AD. Anthony Edwards and Jamal Murray are the new names in this group. As far as I'm concerned, they're ascending. Murray is fresh off a red-hot playoff run and a title win. It's crazy to think that he's never been an all-star before or named to an all-NBA team, but I think his time is now. Harden is the perfect example of erosion and just a depreciation. The same can be said about Kawhi. I think in Harden's case, he's never been the same since leaving Houston, but not to say that he's a lesser player. He's effective in different ways. Harden is a superior playmaker at this point, but he's matched up with a guy in Embiid who doesn't complement Harden's playmaking abilities as much as he could. Harden loves the pick and roll. He loves playing with a rim runner, like, for example, Capella or even Dwight Howard. Those were easy buckets, quick and easy pocket passes for Harden, quick assists. Embiid is not that. Embiid plays his game and only his game, and that gets him his numbers. Harden picks up the scraps in Philly with his playmaking. It's still effective, though. Ultimately, this is a good place for him because I think this version of James Harden ages better than the others, or than the other version of James Harden. Ja Morant was on the fast track to diamond status, and he's lucky to be in the Platinum Lounge, to be honest with you. We'll see what he looks like when he returns from his suspension, because, yes, he will be suspended to begin the season. Anyway, let me take a quick break before getting into the golden tier. We'll be right back with more High and Low.
All right, you guys, what's next?
And we are back. I'm Ike Amaechi. This is the High and Low NBA show. I've been walking through this preseason NBA star tier list, and we've gone through the diamond and platinum class players. Now it's time for the golden tier. But what do I mean by golden tier? These players are stars, not superstars, but absolute stars in this league. Put a stamp on it. Those are the types of players that you'll find in the golden tier. They are often the best player on the floor, not every night, but they are more often than not. These are impactful players. That's the best way to describe them. And they make a difference for their teams. They're max contract guys who are worth the money spent. Most of these guys are all-stars, maybe third team All-NBA, all defensive. Yeah, that's exactly how I would describe the golden tier. The players you'd find in the golden tier: Bradley Beal, Jaylen Brown, Rudy Gobert, Tyrese Halliburton, De'Aaron Fox, Karl Anthony Towns, Pascal Siakam, Kyrie Irving, Bam Adebayo, Zion Williamson, Trae Young, Brandon Ingram. Zion, Trae Young, and Karl Anthony Towns would be the players some might dispute, but hey, they work according to the definition. Once upon a time, Kyrie was a platinum level player, but his status has depreciated the last couple of seasons playing next to KD. I mean, he was a definitive second option in Brooklyn, and his numbers reflected that. He's a definitive second option in Dallas. Let's just be clear. Kyrie has all the gifts, and we caught a glimpse of what happens when he maxes out when he won a title in 2016. But that was a long time ago. He's been floating in the abyss ever since. Pascal Siakam needs to play at the platinum level if he wants to get that supermax next year. Whether he does that in Toronto or elsewhere, I don't know. It's in his best interest to step up, even if the Raptors continue to step back. But hey, he's still a lock in the golden tier.
All right, now the rest of you, I want to hear from some big money men. Where's all the high rollers?
Next up is the silver tier. And, what do I mean by the silver tier or the silver class? The rest of the best. That's what I would call these guys. Not quite all stars, but they're stars in the league. Similar to the platinum class, you'll find guys in this tier who may have been in a higher tier in past seasons, but maybe Father Time has taken his pound of flesh. An erosion of skills has occurred. You'll find young stars, guys on the come up, ready to ascend. But you have to start here first. Those are the other guys you'll find in the silver class. So yeah, very similar to the platinum class in terms of the cross section. And so like I said, I have a list of players that I've dropped into these tiers. Who are the players that you'd find in the silver class? Silver class, to be honest with you, is probably the tier that features the most players on this list. So I won't name all of them. It's a robust list. Jaren Jackson Jr., Lauri Markkanen, Domantas Sabonis, Jalen Brunson, Mikal Bridges, LaMelo Ball, Drew Holiday, Darius Garland. There's DeMar DeRozan, Zach LaVine, Andrew Wiggins, Klay Thompson, Chris Middleton, Tyrese Maxey. Tyrese Maxey, yes. Yeah, it's Tyrese. Yeah, Tyrese Maxey is definitely silver class. I would say that. He's clean. Who am I missing? Kate, did I say Kate Cunningham? Paolo Banchero. Kristaps is on the cusp. I don't know. I don't know if I call him a silver class player, but yeah, Evan Mobley, definitely. Anyway, I'll post the full list on Vonn+Abrahamm.com. Next week I'll be joined by some familiar voices, and I'm sure they'll have their opinions and their own tier list to share at the top of the show. But hey, man, I wanted to keep it short and sweet. That's my list. If you have your own lists, if you have your own opinions, please, by all means, share that with us. Actually, leave a review on Apple Podcasts. And you can leave your tier list in the review, even if it's just a diamond class, your top 10.
Why the fuck I can't shoot 3-point shots?
That brings us to the end of this episode of High and Low. I hope you enjoyed this one. Thank you for listening to this one. Thank you for tuning in. And remember to subscribe to High and Low anywhere you find podcasts. Make us a part of your weekly routine. It costs nothing to subscribe, to download, to listen, and also to plug, man. Like, tell your friends to tell their friends to tell their friends about High and Low. And we just want to continue to grow the High and Low community. You know where to find us. We're on Instagram, TikTok, X, formerly known as Twitter. We're on YouTube. Links to those are all in the show notes. Once again, music is by Live. That's the music you're listening to right now. That's Live of the Enjoy Music Group. You can find Live on Twitter, X, to many. And you can find them on Instagram at LYVE. Additional music is by Sonny Rockwell of The Goodness. Sound design is by Vaughn August. This is a Vonn+Abrahamm podcast, just in case you didn't know. So on behalf of the players of the Diamond, Platinum, Golden, and Silver class, thank you for listening to High and Low, and we'll talk to you next week.